get a phone call from Slick Willie himself saying he had some bad news. The truck has been stolen. And I still hadn't put two and two together that I had waved at my own truck. So I worked for the railroad as a traveling mechanic for a few years. So traveling mechanics, emphasis on traveling. Our territory covered from Columbia Falls, Montana to Williston, North Dakota to Sheridan, Wyoming. And so we covered everything that isn't a locomotive. So all the on-track equipment, skid steers, loaders, anything like that. And to do so, we were given mechanics trucks to drive. They're about 28,000 pounds loaded CDL class trucks with bread boxes on the back so that you would have a room essentially where you could make hydraulic hoses or store tools and stuff. They would have generators / welders and then onboard air compressors ran off the PTO. And so you had a vise, you had essentially an entire work area and all your tools so you could be mobile and fix stuff wherever it was broken, anytime, day or night. Worked in a small town in Montana called Essex, Montana. We lived in Columbia Falls, about 40 miles distance-wise, probably about an hour drive time though, pretty curvy. So for liability purposes, you're not allowed to do any of the mechanicking or maintenance on your own truck. So that all needs to be done in a shop. And so the only shop that was qualified to work on this particular truck, Mercedes engine, Sterling truck, was in Kalispell. And so I had dropped the truck off that morning. This place is a diesel shop, and the owner, they call him Slick Willie, leather jacket, slick back hair, Slick Willie. And I dropped it off and pulled it up to the bay doors. Now the whole compound has a chain link fence around the business. I had pulled the truck up to the shop, up to the bay door, and walked inside. Truck was running, keys inside. Needed service. I had asked Slick Willie if it was okay if I left the keys in the truck. He said, totally fine. It's the next one in. Just roll the window up, shut it off, leave the keys in it, and I will bring it inside before end of shift. So I did, got my stuff out of it, locked all the tools up, but left the keys in the ignition outside the bay door and left. So Columbia Falls to Essex, like I say, 35 miles, 40 miles. On the way to work, the last gas station is in Hungry Horse. It's kind of the morning stop, morning fuel up, morning stop. I'd driven a personal rig that morning and stopped to get a Gatorade and whatever else, and knew the gal there. Her name's Alex. Chatted with her a little bit. It was a cold morning, and we were just talking about weather. And while we were talking, I had noticed a mechanic's truck driving by, assuming it was somebody else, another mechanic. I ran outside and waved, thinking it was a buddy of mine, not realizing that it was my own truck. So made it to Essex. There are 4 mechanics out of Essex, Montana that cover probably 100-mile or more, maybe a 200-mile radius. I walk in the door, and when I get there, get a phone call from Slick Willie himself saying he had some bad news. The truck has been stolen. And I still hadn't put two and two together that I had waved at my own truck driving by. And of course, we're trying to locate the truck and figure this out. We had cameras, inward-facing cameras and telematics, so you would think you'd be able to kind of patch through and find where the truck was, but because there were so many channels to go through, it was going to be about a day before we could get a GPS location on it. So kind of put the word out a little bit, had to call and tell my boss that my truck had been stolen. Called the special agent and talked to him. He assured me that I wasn't in any trouble. They had a locked compound and I was instructed to leave the keys in the truck, so right, wasn't my deal. But probably within an hour, I get a message through Facebook saying, hey, I think is this your truck? And it is in kind of a known, bad part of town. And there's a photo of a guy trying to get the tools out of this thing. And it is There's one photo with him with a crowbar trying to open the doors, another one with a sledgehammer trying to break the latches out. Now, the way the lock works, it's a rod that goes through all the doors. So, I mean, he wasn't getting in unless he knew to pop that lock off the back. So, forwarded that information on to the special agent, and then they called the local police department. And as the story goes, that's when the high speed or low speed pursuit ensued from that place, probably 3 or 4 miles down the highway. And then it turned up some side road that was a dead end. Now there's snow on the ground at this point, so when he turned off the side road, he hit snow and had to turn around. Fast forward a couple weeks, and I had heard the story from everybody involved in this thing. And the girl working at the gas station, Alex, had told me that morning she had left after we chatted. She left work and saw me holding up a bunch of cops. So she pulled up in her car, telling me to get off the road, pointing to get off the road, and then looked through and looked inside, and it wasn't me driving, it was somebody else. She described him as, jerking the wheel back and forth and grinding all the gears. And she said it was only going about 45 miles an hour. And so the high speed pursuit, she moved off, realizing that they were chasing this guy. So we knew the UPS guy that would deliver up in Essex. Again, fast forward a week, heard the story from him. His name's Hans. So Hans got a hold of me and said that he was delivering a package, and as this truck turned up the road that it went up to get away, make its escape, it about hit him as he was delivering a package, and he knew it was me, so he gave me the middle finger and didn't think much of it. The cops knew that it was a dead-end road, so they posted up and waited for him to come back down and threw the spike strip out, and he had made it as far as he was going to make it, turned around and was heading back down. And as the story goes, I don't know if it's true or not, but they shot out his front tires, veered off the road, slammed into a tree, in the process hitting a cop car and knocking it off the road. Hit the tree hard enough that it actually opened the doors for the tools. So tools were flying everywhere, and then this guy took off running, and I was told later on that his feet were moving really slow, but his arms were moving really fast, so kind of in slow motion, looked like he was, he's on drugs or something. And then they tased him and brought him down, and then the guy whose car he hit had a bone to pick with him, so he hit him again with the old taser gun, and yeah, so they totaled out the truck. Well, said it was totaled. They ended up repairing it with used parts, and we had to inventory everything. Fast forward again, I talked to Slick Willie, who they were, now it's a legal battle on who's paying what insurance is covering what. And he said that they had caught this guy on camera, and he had moseyed on into the shop, opened all the toolboxes, looked around, looked like he was looking for something, looking through all the tools, ended up in a bunch of the different trucks inside. They have him on camera. Ended up in a school bus where he took a nap for about 20 minutes before getting into my truck, and then realized the keys were in the ignition, and then tried to start it. Didn't know how to drive it, didn't know how to drive a clutch or take the air brakes off. So in the video, you see it stall a bunch of times, and then finally, I think he figured out the air brake and then blew through the gate, knocked the gate down, did a bunch of damage on his way out. Got demoted to a truck. So the one I drove before had a bread box on it. The one I was demoted to, the loaner truck, was just a flatback F550. I was working in Shelby, Montana, and at the time, there was a bunch of us that were in a little bit of a prank war. I would say a major prank war. There was a prank designed for somebody else. I happened to just fall into the trap at the right time. So I went inside to go get my breakfast for the morning at the gas station, corn dog and an energy drink. And when I came out, the truck had died. Not my truck, it's the loaner. I assumed it's just a pile of junk. Didn't think anything of it. Got in the truck, fastened my seatbelt, put my lunch to the passenger seat, started the truck, and someone, a good friend of mine, decided to pour about 100 small bottles of the finest glitter you can think of down the defrost vents. And when I started it, I was in the middle of a snow globe. Opened the door, jumped out, was caught by my seatbelt, hanging as they pulled up laughing, and inhaled a bunch of glitter. And to this day, that truck drives around, and if it hits a bump just right with the window cracked, glitter just it's just the sun catches it. It's a nice rig. So the glitter shit is what it was deemed.
We'd like to thank the Ticket Clinic for supporting VINwiki this month. When you get a ticket, no matter where it happens, you're risking points on your license, costly fines, insurance premium increases, and risks of suspension or jail time. So it's more important than ever to have great representation. The Ticket Clinic is a nationwide law firm that can help you fight a ticket no matter where you get it. It's easier than ever to start a relationship with them. You'll just take your ticket, snap a picture of it, and text that picture to 305-305. You can also reach them at the link in the description below to thank them for their support of VINwiki and fight your ticket with the Ticket Clinic.